Okay.
Feels like it's like right there.
Y'all ready?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Good morning. This is the Keeping It Real Show. I'm your host, Mia Tyus. I am in the studio today. I got a couple guests, and y'all heard from Minister Cary Braggs toward the end of December. He was in here for a couple of sessions with us. Welcome back.
Well, thank you. Glad to be back.
Yeah, he brought his beautiful wife with him today.
Amen.
Anise Braggs. Thank you for coming.
Oh, thank you for having us.
My family from St. Louis, and I love their marriage. And Cary and I had such a good time when he was in here before. And we had discussion, and just wanted him and his wife to come in and grace the studio. Let y'all hear from them. So y'all welcome.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much. We're glad to be here.
So this is a couple that they've been together 18 years. They dated 2 years, and then they were married. And so they've been married for 16 years. Young couple, too. They have 6 children.
Yes.
Cary had a son from a prior relationship. They had 3 kids together, and then they adopted 2 daughters.
Yes.
And so I commend you for that. And actually, one of the daughters was 17 or 18 when you?
She was actually 18 when we adopted her.
When you adopted, yeah. So older kids do get adopted. That's very rare that I hear it, but that's a blessing
Yes.
that you were able to do that. So, been married for 16 years. How did you know that they met in the club? So, you can meet your spouse in the club.
We did.
Right. That's not necessarily the layout of how it normally goes,
It
but
just
that
happened to
is
be that.
what
Yeah,
happened. Yes.
Yeah. It's okay.
Right.
It's okay.
Which I'm thankful for it. It was a blessing.
Right.
So
y'all were clubbers. I
No.
guess I shouldn't say clubbers, because y'all
Right.
just happened to be at the club
Yeah,
that night.
right. It was one of those things to where I was on, I had stopped those things, but a friend was getting married, so instead of the bachelor party, because I wouldn't go to that, but they like, okay, well, we'll just go to a club and hang out. So that's why I was there.
Okay,
Yeah,
I got you.
and on my end, I was there. A friend was kind of going through some stuff, and I
Okay.
said, you know what? Let's go to the club tonight. Let's
Right.
just kind of get away from what you're going through right now.
Wow.
And then we met each other.
Right.
Yes.
So you said that you were going through to church and everything by this time. You
Yes.
met. Now, were you in church, Anise?
I was not. I wasn't raised in a church, and at that time, I was not going to church, but I had a desire to go.
Okay. So you were in church. You were not in church. How did y'all come together? And then, what made you start going to church, Anise?
So he made me actually start going to church. He and I wouldn't even say made me. He encouraged me. I saw a light just kind of within him, and I wanted to know a little bit more about that light. And so I started attending church with Cary, and at that time, I never turned back.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you remember the day that you said, there is something to this? There's something to going to church and being in that environment?
Yeah, so it was actually the first time I went. The first time that I went with him. I'd been to church before, but
Okay.
I was not considered a Christian. I wasn't raised that way. And so, but again, it was just a draw within me that kept saying, you know what, you need to learn a little bit more about what this looks like.
Okay.
And as I talked to him on the phone as we were dating, he just kept talking about God. And I was like, I want to know this God that you were talking about. He sounds really good.
Right.
And so when I went to church and learned more about that God that he started talking about and how he started working within our lives, and then I knew, I knew that I needed to learn more,
Right.
to do more, to be more,
Mhm.
and that's where our walk, where my walk, I should say, began.
So, Cary, then, were you raised in the church?
No.
Was not raised in the church?
No, I wasn't raised in the church. I was taught that God was real, and my mother and grandmother always prayed with us at night and taught us to pray, and that God answers prayers. And so that's as much as I knew of God.
Right. Okay. So what was it about this that made you want to go? What made you, I mean, because you were an adult by the time
Right.
you started really getting into church. So what happened? Did something happen, or what was it about you? Did you have like a hunger inside of you?
I think it was more or less, I always tell people, because usually something happens, and that, like you said, something happens to wake you up. But you know, I've always, as I said, believed in God. I would pray, and I saw He would answer prayers, and so He always revealed Himself to me. And you know, I was just getting to that point. I didn't want to live the way I was living anymore. I'm like, I'm tired of, you know, being out here in the streets and chasing women. And, you know, I had my son at that time. And so my mindset was, I'm looking for a serious relationship. I want to better myself. And, you know, you always have somebody hanging around. You need to go to church. You need to go to church.
Right.
And so, you know, I guess God just put that on my heart. And I just started saying, I need to go to church. And I started attending a church down the street from our house at that time.
Okay. So, okay, in all of this, y'all are now dating. She's going to church with you, seeing what that's about. How did you know, Cary? What was it about her that you knew she was the one? Because, like you said, you dated before.
Right.
You had a kid by this time. What was it about her that made you say, you know what, I want to marry her?
Well, for me, I was at the point to where I was actually looking for a wife.
Okay.
Because I started going to church, and it was a sermon one Sunday. I forget what it was about, but I know me and stopping smoking and drinking and clubbing and all those things. That wasn't my vice. Those weren't my vices for me. Those were things I was doing and a part of my lifestyle. But women, that was a vice for me, to where that was part of who I was and what I was doing as a man. But I started saying to myself, I was like, if I'm actually going to become a Christian and follow God and obey, I need to find me a wife, because otherwise I'll always be back and forth in these streets. And I'm like, that was the reality for me. And so I was looking for a wife, and God gave me just a few simple things to where I was looking for a woman who I felt had potential. And I know it kind of seems general or cliche, but you know, as men and women, we know those ones who you are attracted to for their appearance or sexuality and things like that.
Right.
But I said to myself, if I'm only attracted to someone and not seeing that there's potential here, and you know, right, you have to approach her in a certain manner. You can't just come up and be like, hey baby, and all of this other stuff. I saw that in her. And just spending time with her, I saw she didn't want anything from me. That was the biggest thing. You know, at the time I had just moved into my own house, and so finances were kind of shaky, so I couldn't take her out to dinner and things like that to court her. But she was just happy being around me. We would go to the house and just look at TV and hang out, and that spoke volumes to me. She was just really into me, and I'm just like, okay.
And not what you were doing for
right.
her.
It's none of these other things. She was just focused on me and that she liked me, and that really spoke volumes. And I was like, okay, she's a keeper.
Right.
I've been looking for a wife, and
she's the one.
That's the one.
Now, Anise, what made you say yes?
Well, when we were dating, he was like a breath of fresh air. Not only is he easy on the eyes, but he had a great sense of humor. And that was something different about him, and I enjoyed talking to him. We could talk to wee hours in the morning, just hang out, you know, and we didn't have to worry about a thing. Like you said, I was completely independent when we came inside of that relationship. I wasn't looking for money. I wasn't looking for a lot of things. I enjoyed that time spending with him. And with him and his walk with God, I knew immediately, you know, that if he asked me, I would say yes.
Wow.
I would definitely say yes.
So you knew earlier on.
I did. I knew earlier on. I think he was kind of trying to play hard to get with the whole marriage thing, but you know, I knew.
I wanted to be sure, because I had recently gotten out of a bad relationship, and God was, you know, He was letting me know, hey, you're not staying on track like you said you were, with looking for a wife and doing what you're supposed to be doing. And so when I met her, I kind of felt it early on myself, but I said, I just want to give it
sure.
time, right?
Okay.
I just want to give it time and see how things go to where it progresses like it should. And as she said, she came alongside of me with God, because that's another thing. The young lady I was dating beforehand, she wasn't trying to,
She resisted.
right? She wasn't trying to be a part of that relationship with me and God. And you know how that goes. You can be pulled away from God, and that's what happened. And so I was like, no, I'm like, if I'm dating someone, they need to be here. It needs to be me and her and God in the center to hold us together. And once I saw that in her, it was like, okay, I see God. This is the one.
Wow. Okay. And you were obedient.
Yes.
Now y'all married. Okay. You earlier on, you dated a year.
Yes.
You proposed. You got married the following year.
Yes.
So 2 years in, you were married.
That's right.
What would you say what lesson did you learn earlier on in becoming one? So you were independent and he was independent. Y'all had your own, and then you two coming together. Your young couple coming together. What lessons did you learn earlier on to help you to continue? You know, what were the lessons? You know, two people from different backgrounds coming together.
Right. So I felt I was pretty good at going with what Cary would call teetotally off. Right? And so,
What is
and I
it?
would teetotally off is what he would say.
Okay,
I get upset and I just go off. And he would call it teetotally off.
Right.
Not just a regular off. I would
Right.
probably
This
really
is
going off.
this is going off on
Different level.
steroids.
Right,
Yes.
right.
And so I was good at that because, again, we're coming together as two totally different individuals, two totally different backgrounds, two totally different expectations to what marriage looks like, to what our relationship should look like, to what our house should look like.
Right.
Everything was totally different from when we were dating. And so after we got married, I didn't know how to express my feelings as well. And so I would go off about those things. I'd just come in and be like, well, I don't know why you're doing this, and da-da-da. And I would go off instead of coming and actually talking and communicating, something that we didn't have to do as much of while we were dating because these issues didn't come up.
Right.
So that's one of the things that I learned, that I just couldn't go totally off. I needed to just kind of step back and learn how to talk, learn how to communicate, and know that we love each other.
Right.
You know, we really do love each other, and we can talk things out instead of me blasting, totally blasting him when I'm not happy.
So tell me about that, because we have a lot of that, and I do want to talk about that when you have two people coming together from extremely different backgrounds. Coming together, you expressed yourself a little bit differently than he was expressing himself. At what point did you come to, like, what happened for you to step back and say, you know what, I'm acting a purity fool.
Right. Right.
And I need to figure out how to express myself in a better way. Was this a discussion that y'all had together, or did you talk to your mom, your girls, or did you just know you had clowned so bad that you had got to the point where you were ashamed?
A little bit of all of it.
Right.
A little bit of all of it. At that time, I think I was really searching to look for a marriage, to look for someone in the community or someone around that was doing it right. You know, I needed an example, and unfortunately, I couldn't find that.
And your parents were married, like you came from a two-parent home, right?
Yeah, well, my parents were married for 25 years, and unfortunately, they got a divorce. And so I grew up in a two-parent home.
Right, okay.
You know, it was turmoil in that two-parent home. I didn't see what it looked like to do it right. You know, I saw what it looked like to do it wrong, and that's what I brought inside of my marriage.
Yeah.
I brought how to do it wrong early on. So I was looking for how to do it right, and I didn't understand, and I didn't know what that looked like. And the only thing that I could think to do was turn to the Bible, like turn to God and pray about it and be like, God, this is not working out. You know, you said that this was my husband, but I don't think it really is. I think you made a mistake within this. And so as I started praying about it, I started more so praying, God, get him, whoop his legs, whoop him so I don't have to. So I had to pray about it. And so it helped me to calm down, right? Because I'm like, yeah, God whooped him right there. He come in and, you know, he looked like he got whooped up. I'm like, thank you, Lord. You just whooped him up for me so I didn't have to. And that made me calm down.
Right. So was he doing something to make you reach, or was it he was doing what you didn't want him to do. You know what I'm saying? Because
Yeah.
sometimes we
it
have
was
a
more
picture
that one.
of what it's supposed to look like,
Right.
and when it doesn't look like what we think it's supposed to look
Yeah.
like, then different things come up for us. Or was he really doing something wrong, or was he doing him?
He was doing him, and to
Right,
me,
okay.
doing him at that point, it was wrong.
Doing wrong,
Because
yeah.
that
Right,
wasn't
He
that's-
did
that's
him
not-
all while y'all
Right,
dating.
that's not.
Or when we got
That's
married,
not
you
what
can't do
she.
him.
Right. She like, you supposed to look like this over here, and
Right.
you're not looking like this.
Right,
so
right.
let me get you where you need to be.
Whip you at the
You know,
shape.
right, right.
Your legs.
We
Right.
married now.
Right.
So since we
Right,
married
because everything
now.
shifted, and I'm like, what just happened? I'm like, I've never seen all of this, and it was just kind of like getting some court papers or something saying, okay,
Right,
this
you
is
got
how the
this.
contract goes, and I'm like, what? I didn't sign up for all this. What you talking about? And so within that, I had those certain things as well where I'm looking at how it's supposed to go, and I think that we bring that into marriage, and that's something that we don't understand coming in early, that, as you said, they've been doing it this way all
Right.
their life. You've been doing it this way,
Right.
but all of a sudden, now you're expected to do something together. Now all of a sudden, you have to come together with somebody else. And it could be something as simple as how you do banking. Well, I do banking this way. You do banking that way.
Right,
So
right.
you're crazy. You need to get it together. You don't know how to do finances. Instead of saying, let's sit down and see
Figure out
what's
what
what's best for our situation. So it's only one little simple thing I could come up with, and I would say we need to sit at the table and we need to put something into place. We need to agree about it, and we need to agree about it, honor it when it comes time to deal with those situations. And also, I would say you need to go back to your corner and pray to God and see how you can do what is needed for me, and I'll go pray what I can do to satisfy your needs,
Right,
or
right.
give you what you need. So we're going praying for us to do right by the other instead of vice versa, where it's like going over saying, God, this is what I need from her.
Right.
No, God, show me how to give her the things that she is asking for, and and for her to do the same. And that's all I had. And
And you know what? I love something you said, because we tell the listeners that we talked a lot, the night before we recording this. So you mentioned something about how your love language, which is important. Like
Right.
I love the fact that you even talk about that, and that your love language is what it is.
Right.
So many times we love each other the way we want to be loved.
Exactly.
And that's not always that's not the way you love someone
Right.
else, right? And I want to give an example. I'll never forget this one lady that I know. She was, she would always clean up her her boyfriend's house. She would cook for her boyfriend, and he would come in, and the celebration of it wasn't what she thought it should be, or the appreciation of it wasn't what she thought it would be.
Right.
And that was not his language,
Okay.
right? And so it wasn't that he didn't appreciate what she did for him.
Exactly.
It was the fact that, thank you, I appreciate that, but this is he did those things for himself. So
Exactly.
that didn't mean anything. He was more of an affirmation type of guy.
Right, the words of affirmation.
The words,
We're
so
telling him he's
when
doing
you
a good
say
job.
that, I'm proud of you, or you're
Right.
doing an awesome job, thank you for everything that you do, that is what built him up and made him feel a certain. That was his language,
Right, and that's
acts
her
of
language.
service.
Right.
Yeah, So we have to figure out how do you want to be loved. We need to ask those simple questions. They have a book called 5 Love Languages. I recommend everybody that's in a relationship to get that book.
Right, we read that and took the test, and so that's the thing. We use that with our couples counseling.
Yeah.
We use that with our couple groups when we're doing things with our marriage ministry, and that's one of the things. We have everybody take the test so they know that what their spouse's love language is, because that was part of the problem with us early on. My love language is spending quality time. Her love language is words of affirmation. So when she would be feeling down and out and things like that, then here I come. Let's look at TV. Let's look at a show and eat something together and everything. And I'm like, this is put on cloud nine. And she's like, boo. You can keep that.
I didn't want that.
Hello. That's not what I need. And I'm like,
Right.
what? And she was looking for the words of affirmation. And so that's one of those where we try to focus on speaking each other's language.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so you mentioned, we were talking about how do you keep in a world of where, in a culture
Mhm.
where, just say, infidelity
Mm,
is encouraged.
right.
You know,
Right.
we live in a culture where if you are about that one woman, you're either henpecked or whooped or what. You know, there's words for that, and it's
Right.
it's not encouraged to
It's a
love
negative,
on.
right? It's a
It's
negative, right?
Yeah, that you love on one woman
Right.
or one man. You know,
Mhm.
it's so in a world of all of that, and y'all a young couple. Like, how do you continue to love each other and not get caught up in that?
Being intentional, you know, and that's what it is. It's not a natural thing all the time. It really isn't, and you have to be intentional. We have to wake up every day and be intentional about how we're even going to deal with each other, because it's not always, you know, roses.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not, you know.
And here's the thing: when you're married, it's really not, because the enemy is like always waiting for you to
Right.
an opportunity, I should
Uh-huh.
say. You know, and so how do you fight off the opportunities, or how do you, and like you said, you wake up and be intentional about what you're going to do in your marriage that day?
Right, and we realize too, and I think this is something we always talk about. It's not even about how we feel all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, 'cause you hear a lot of times where it's just like, I fell out of love. You can't fall out of love. Like, you can't. There's no such thing as you don't fall into love. You don't fall out of love. It's really walking that walk in an intentional way to say that, you know what, divorce is not an option. Like,
Right.
it's just not. So
Right.
we're going to have to work
Not an
this way
option.
out. You know,
Right.
we're going to have to work this out one way or another. We're going to have to come to the table and communicate. We have 6 kids. What does that look like, right? We have to be able to work together and work together to say that, you know what, it's not always going to be my way. It's not always going to be his way, but we need to come together and find a way. And that's so important for us.
And I want to talk about that, because like you said, you have 6 kids, right?
Mhm.
That's a lot of kids, right?
Yes.
One kid is a lot of kids.
6 is easy.
You're trying to balance, because you have to have a balance, right?
Right.
Y'all are a married couple with kids, you know, running around. Some of them are older, you know. So you how do you balance that thing? And what is that conversation like? Because it is so easy to leave. You know, when
Right.
you have all of the cake, because you know, anytime you got like more than one kid in a house, there's a lot of chaos that can go on, because kids
Right.
are kids. That's just
Yeah,
the way it
yeah.
is. You know,
Right.
you're trying to work, you're trying to keep everything together, the relationship fresh and smooth. How do you, and I know that you said intentional, do you come to the table even with that and say, okay, or do you schedule date nights, or how do y'all keep your thing together?
Well, I think with us, we just, I guess things are always moving, like you were saying, with, you know, different things, with activities with the kids, with activities with us as individuals. It's just about togetherness. We do it as a team. We do it as a family. And so within that, you know, we sometimes you may just have to steal a little time once they go to bed. But her mother is just wonderful, because her mother is with them now, sitting with them now, which allowed us to take the trip up here to do this show. And she's just phenomenal. She, you know, when we need a date night and different things, she's always there for us. And so she's just been a true blessing. But we do just just try to maximize every opportunity. If we just get to go to the store or something and go take care of something, as long as we together, it's just a beautiful thing. I think sometimes people get caught up in if it's not a big thing. If I don't get to take the big trip out of town, you know, why can't you just take a small, quick trip to Branson or something like that and just be satisfied that you created a memory or something like that. So
just being in the car together, just being somewhere, like you said.
So it's just appreciating every moment and just doing it together. That, you know, for me, I know that makes it just a beautiful situation, that I know that we are in this together, and you know, it's not a I'm doing it or she's doing it, but we are doing it.
Yeah.
And we do, and we have to get really creative within it sometimes. You know, sometimes it is like when you said, you know, about when they go to bed. You don't close the door, or before they get up in the morning, or after they get up in the morning. We're like, you know what, Mommy and Daddy need some time. Like we need some time alone to be able to shut them out, because sometimes people expect that because the kids are up, you got to be out there with them, or you have to be dealing with them. No. We teach them, Mommy and Daddy need time, and this is what that time looks like. And so, and we have just a wonderful support group, just not within, you know, my mom, but we have other family members that we can reach out to say, you know what, we need time. Like we need a date so that we can just kind of reconnect,
and recharge. Yeah, refresh and recharge. That's exactly right. Yeah, make sure you take the time to do that.
Yeah, and also I like to look at, like I say, stay in her face. You know, I like to stay in her face. If it ain't nothing but a conversation, you know, hey, what's going on? We're always communicating, knowing what's going on with each other. So if she's not having such a great day or whatever, okay, let's talk about it and everything. So, you know, that's important, because once again, that's my love language, that quality time. So me having a conversation with her, you know, on break, or she called me on break or whatever, it's like, you know, okay, I know, even though I'm not with her, I know what's going on with her. And she knows what's going on with me. So I think just putting forth the effort to just connect, like she was saying, be creative, and just don't take any small thing for granted.
That's beautiful. And I love the fact that y'all are doing this with each other. You know what I'm saying? Because it's so easy for you to pour into or tell your stuff to another woman, or you to tell your stuff to another man. And before you know it, you looking for that other person to tell your stuff to. You know what I'm saying? And so I love the fact that y'all make sure that y'all stay connected, and you are attentive to her, and you know when she has an issue, and you're the same for him. And that's what it's about, because like I said, the enemy is looking for like a crack. If the enemy finds a crack, he's coming in.
Right. And that's the thing. And and with that, I would like to throw something out here for men especially. I mean, because usually the majority of the time within those situations with infidelity, it is the men. And as we were kind of talking about that subject last night, the fact of, we are taught at a young age that we look at women as sexual objects. We look at them to conquer as many as we can. This is our mindset that we are taught. So coming into marriage, when men cheat, it's not about not being connected to their wife or anything. It's just that, okay, this is my wife, this is my woman at home. That woman over there looking good, and she winked at me, and they just go out and make those moves because we're visual. So my thing on it is I know that. I realized that about myself early on in my Christian walk, to where at first I thought I came to God, so I'm cool. I won't be lusting after women. But God showed me that's part of who you are as far as being visual. Now,
that's part of your makeup.
You have to do these things to prevent that. And so I protect home. My mindset is I limit opportunities.
For what?
Limit opportunities for situations for me to get caught up and cheat.
There you go.
You know, so I'm working and coming home. Everything I value and love is at home. You know, it's like a lot of guys do things like, hey man, you can come out to the sports bar, we're gonna throw some darts or shoot some pool. You don't have to drink anything. And I'm like, nah, I'm cool. I have a game room at home. I have a pool table at home. I have a dartboard at home. I got a ping pong table at home. I got the big screen on the wall. I have my own setup. Hey man, why don't you come over here? You see what I'm saying? So that keeps me out of a situation to where the waitress can flirt with me, or if I had a bad night with my wife, it's like, well, she's been flirting with me, you know, maybe. So you limit those opportunities to, you know, protect home and just make sure I'm not giving anything to that. And even when me and her are going through, I don't look outward. I look to another place in the house, you know, so instead of we going at it and, oh, well, I'm going to get up out of here and do my own thing. No, my mindset is, okay, well, I'm getting ready, we ain't getting along, I'm getting ready to go in another room. I'm going to go look at TV by myself. Since she don't want to look at a movie with me and, or, you know, whatever. I'm going to go work on, you know, some music or whatever. But my mindset is home. My mindset is home. And so, like you say, for us, we need to be mindful of those things and quit having that mindset of, this is what I was taught I need to conquer. No, I don't need to conquer anything. I need to protect my home. This is the one God gave me for life, and I need to honor that. Right. I need to honor that and for life.
I absolutely love it, man. That's beautiful. We're going to take a break and come back and continue to talk to the Braggs.
Yay! See you in a minute.
This is the Keeping It Real show. Good morning. We are back. This is the Keeping It Real show. I have Minister Cary and Anise Braggs in the studio.
Hey.
We are here.
My family from St. Louis. Love their relationship. Had to get them in here and talk to them. Let them kick a little of that knowledge out, and hopefully and prayerfully somebody is listening and being blessed by
help who we can.
What they have. I know that you two minister couples. You counsel couples within your church, right?
Well, not necessarily within our church. It's more, our ministry as far as because, right, because, you know, by me being an ordained licensed minister, and so we counsel couples before marriage, or as my wife, she calls it, marriage enrichment. So we look at, you know, we look at that. So we do that. We do it in our church as well when it's needed. But I just wanted to let it be known that it's not just there.
So somebody can just call you and say, hey, can we come over and meet somewhere and talk?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
I love that.
And with it being marriage enrichment, it's not just about counseling. And you know, we feel like coming alongside you, no matter where you are, you could have a good marriage.
Right.
But we also feel that marriage is not an island. Like, you're not meant to just be alone right there inside of your marriage. I feel like we are meant to come alongside each other and encourage each other. So if you're at a really good place, then we encourage you to come alongside another couple and just walk alongside it with them as well. So that's what we do. We do that through different events and games. Like, we go play laser tag. Like, we just have fun with other couples.
Building that community.
Yeah, because this is what it's about.
Right.
This is totally what it's about.
They need to see others who have the same values, going through the same things they're going through, and say, it's okay. It's not just us going through these things, and we get to learn from one another, because within those groups we usually have those real conversations where a topic get brought up and people are like, yeah, this isn't, you see, oh, well, we went through that, or we going through that. And so you see others are going through this as well as,
or you can take a detour and not go through it.
Right.
Because you've heard the consequences of that.
Right. And we also heard different perspectives on it, different solutions and everything. So it's very beneficial and therapeutic within those situations with having that community. As she said, not being an island on your own.
Right. That's beautiful. Now, think about the hardest time in your relationship. The hardest time in your relationship. how did you make it through?
Which one?
Yeah, we've had some hard times.
Which one?
If we can just put them all together and say it could be.
How did you get through whatever that was? And you don't have to tell us what it was, but just tell us when you decided, okay, we can do this. And what did you do to keep it moving?
So I think what we did within all of them, because like I said, our marriage has not always been roses, and so there's
16 years.
right?
I mean, y'all been married for 16 years,
Yeah.
so and the enemy is waiting.
Mhm.
So yeah.
He is ready and waiting, and I think the beginning of our marriage was the hardest again because I was keep trying to. Well, we both just had those expectations, and so as things came up, we had to learn how to communicate. We had to learn how to walk through them, and we had to learn how each other reacts to those things. I would be the one that would be like, you know what, I'm gone. I'm going to leave the house for a little bit. I'm just going to do that. But then I had to learn I can't leave my house every time something goes on. I can't throw out, hey, we're going to get a divorce every time the milk wasn't put away. So these are different things that it was not okay.
But no, that's simple stuff, because if you don't put the tissue on the roll the right way,
Yes.
Something comes up
Right.
for you. It's like, okay,
tension, small things.
Go ahead.
Right. So we did. We had to learn how to communicate about the tissue and about the milk and about all the other little things that we learned how to sweep up under the rug. We are good sweepers, right?
Oh my goodness.
We sweep so much stuff up under the rug that it never really gets dealt with. So then in the conversation when we're talking about who's going to drive the kids to school this morning, then I remember, oh, you know what? You didn't put away the milk 2 weeks ago.
Right.
Before we even talk about driving the kids to school, and so that it comes up, it's a snowball effect.
Right.
And I'm mad. He's like, why is she so upset? I'm like, because I remember about the milk.
Right.
Like,
We didn't deal with that.
The issue is not the issue.
Right.
And as we realized that the issue was really not the issue, we could communicate a lot better about those issues. We could sit down and be like, you know what? Whatever is going on, we're in this for life, right? We are in this, and we have to work it out. So we became very good communicators in the midst of it, and we still work on our communication, but it's easier. Like, it's not hours before we make up. I realize that I can say I'm sorry, even if I don't feel like I'm wrong. You know?
You don't have to be right.
I don't have to be right.
Yeah, and that's a hard lesson, a tough lesson, because so many times we get in trouble because we have to be right. Sometimes you just don't. It's okay. You know what? I'm not getting ready to go there with you. It's not worth it.
That's right.
So whatever. Okay.
Right. And for me, I think one of the biggest things was for us to get through those hard times for being honest. Because I know there have been several times in our marriage where I'm like, we've been together too long to be going through this here, and I would just sit up and say things like, well, you may not want to admit what's going on, but I know you're upset about such and such or whatever, and I'm just letting you know I don't agree with it, and I'm just letting you know. You may sit later and think about it while you by yourself or whatever, may not admit it to me, but I'm letting you know out of my mouth that I know what's going on. We should be further along than this, and I'm cool. I would just let her know. I'm like, we've been together too long. I'm not going anywhere. You're not going anywhere. Once again, the mindset is divorce is not an option. When you take that off the table and you don't say to yourself, should I stay or should I go? And the only thing on the table is, I'm here for life. We got to fix it.
How do we make it
right? So I'm like, let's take some of the tension out of this. I said what I had to say. I still love you. We cool. You want to go get a sandwich or something like that? And those kind of things, with us being able to be honest, to bring stuff to each other's front door, I think, I think that has been one of the best things to help us get through the hard times, because out of love, you might say, you know what, she right. She right, so I'll go apologize later. I'm not doing that.
That pride.
Right.
Ego.
But I get with her later where I can seem cool when I'm apologizing or whatever.
So tell me, what does marriage mean to you today? And I'm not just talking about your marriage, I'm just talking about marriage in general.
To me, marriage is teamwork. You know, it's teamwork. That whole togetherness of knowing that, you know what, I am not walking this all by myself. And I have somebody that has my back, no matter what's going on. Someone I can talk to, someone I can cry with. You know, just all of that is within our marriage and within how it should be within marriages. You know, it's so important to be able to look at him and say, you know what, this is my forever. It really is. This is it.
Yeah.
And it's good to wake up and know that.
Yeah.
We're not trying to date somebody else. We're not trying to be around anybody else. It is just us. It is us against the world. And that's what marriage is, you know, to me.
To me, marriage is everything I need. It's everything I need, because I know you hear them say that we complete one another, and I truly believe that. So to me, once we got married, it's like the mindset within marriage is we are building together. We're building a life together. We're here to help one another get from point A to point B, because we're entrusted with everything. You know, we're entrusted with everything. We're entrusted with each other's finances. We're entrusted with each other's, I guess, with things with raising the kids, what direction we're taking our children in. We're entrusted with each other's dreams and hopes, and it's just so much in there. And so I feel this marriage is everything I need, because I pour everything into that to see, okay, hey, what are we doing with our lives? You know, what do you need? Or telling her what I need, because I'm not alone anymore. And so early on, it took me time to embrace that, to start getting away from that independence and start saying, I got a whole wife here.
Right.
You know, the Bible says that she is my helpmeet, and so I'm going over and letting her, babe, I need your help on this.
Right.
I need your help on this. I'm not going to try and do all of this. I'm going to pass some things over to her, and also I'm waiting to decide if you need me to take care of some things. So it's that just everything I need right there, and you know, and let's just build on that.
So what do you have to say to someone that's listening? Because again, I love what you all have, and this is hope for someone out there that's waiting for that or wanting that. What do you say to the couples that are out there that are married, but that's not necessarily their relationship? They want it to be where they are comfortable and confident enough to be able to lean on and depend on the one that they're married to. But the reality is that you have a lot of marriages out there and they don't trust each other. They're sleeping, they feel like they're sleeping with the enemy. You know, so what do you have, what words of encouragement maybe do you have for those couples?
So keep in mind, I mean, this is 16 years of building.
Right.
Right, 16 years. And so it's been so many different seasons within our marriage. Marriage didn't always look so joyful 16 years ago. It was hard.
Yeah.
And so within that, we had to learn a lot of things. And the one thing that I learned, I think, more than anything else, was that I can give 100% even if I feel like he's only giving me 50. Like, I can give my all to this relationship. I can try everything that I can, even if I feel like he's not giving it all to me. And I noticed that when I gave my 100%, then his 50 turned from 50 to 60, from 60 to 80, and then eventually we met each other within that. But again, that's 16 years in the making, and some people don't want to put 16 years in that, but remembering our vows to say that, you know what, it's not always going to be great. It says for better or for worse, and we have seen some of those worst days, but then we woke up and said, you know what, today is a brand new day. Let's start again. Let's start again.
Start over.
And walk. Just keep walking and you'll get there, right?
I love it. Yeah.
Keep on going. What do you think, babe?
I think for me, what I would like to give people as words of encouragement is to just tell them to give their all. Don't put their pride aside, stubbornness, all those things aside, and realize that that's what marriage is, coming together and taking care of one another. I think most couples have it backwards, and that's why they're at odds. As you were saying, we're not enemies. You know, she would say, she would say that to me all the time. I'm not your enemy.
Yeah.
And the reality was, you're right, you're not my enemy. I'm upset with you about something, but I still need to come to the table. I can express what I'm upset about, but also do it in the right manner to where we can talk these things out. So you have to be willing to put all those things aside, all of that pettiness, because I would say this, most people will sit up and say, well, I can't do this. I think you need to ask yourself the question, is it that you can't or you won't?
Yeah.
You won't do it, because it shows a level of maturity to say, whether I'm right or wrong within this is my wife or this is my husband, we have this life together, and I'm going to fight for it. They need to have that mindset. Things are not going well, but we need to fight for this. The grass is not greener on the other side when you break up your family, and now, mother and father are not in the home together, and you living in your mama's basement, or she gets an apartment, and we gotta fight for who gets the kids on holiday.
Quality time.
Right. I don't know. We not gonna do that. I'm gonna come to the table. I'm gonna be mature enough to come to the table, because I don't want that to happen. I married you. We have this life together, and I want to do whatever I can to keep it intact. And I think if everybody has that mindset to say we're going to give our all to keep it intact, they'll be sitting here with 16 years,
right.
And this is really nothing. I know people who got 50 years, and I'm like, okay, I'm grabbing her. We need to go sit at their feet right quick.
Right.
So you've been married for 50 years, so
right, get that knowledge.
Right, yeah, it's a beautiful
wisdom.
thing. I love that. I love hearing when couples have been married all those years.
Right.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, a lot of wisdom and knowledge. And so I would even say, I want to add to this, because I do know, and I know of couples that, a lot of times they're together just because, it's familiar.
Right.
But with everything that you said, I would say to people to get clear and know that this is really what, you're supposed to be doing this. It's hard. It's impossible to have a successful marriage when you got one person that just really don't want it.
Right.
Period.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We do have that. And they're in it because, one, they don't want anybody else to have you.
Mm-hmm.
Or two, it's just a familiar place to be.
Right. Familiar, convenient.
Yeah, it's convenient, all of that, and don't want to change. And so, and then you're going to have days. Anise talked about giving 100%. Billy and I talk all the time. Some days he'll come in and he only has 30% left in him. Mm-hmm. And so I got to bring my stuff up to 70, and I don't mind doing that.
Right.
There are going to be days when I got 25% and he need to bring it up to 75 because we got kids to take care of and all of that. So, but we understand that we get that. We're not going to be the same people every day.
Right.
Right? Because we go through things. Mm-hmm. We get sick, or we feel a certain way, and so we get that. You're not going to have this person that's on a high every day,
right.
But I would say, like I said, be clear and know that that's the relationship you truly want. You want it to work.
Right.
It can work. He said if you open your eyes the next day, you got a chance. Right. It's that sunrise faith. Yeah,
right.
Sunrise.
Right.
And that's so important to me. I want to add to that as well, that that we're living a legacy to leave for our children and our children's children. Yeah. After we are well gone, they're going to be looking back on our marriage, and this is their life too. And
that's
so
exactly right.
A lot of people don't look at that. They look at it because it's just them. It's husband
it's
and wife.
It's so much bigger, and we talked about this last night. When you have a relationship and you have when you have a marriage, you have a responsibility. Not only is that's not even really, to me, about you.
Right.
There's so many people counting on you to make it.
That you would never even know.
You wouldn't have a clue. People come up to Billy and I all the time and talk about our marriage. We don't even know half of the people that are even listening or looking or watching, or people are looking for you. A lot of people are looking for you to win.
Yes.
They need you to win.
Yeah.
Right. And
And
that
it gives them
encourages
hope.
them. Yeah.
And it goes back to what I was saying yesterday, that lighthouse love. Like, there's a
Right.
lighthouse. Like, we are responsible to let people know that this is real. Like, you can do this. This is, you're supposed to.
Right. And I like that with the lighthouse love. Remember, the lighthouse is that beacon of hope in the night
That's
when
exactly right.
the ships are out there and
That's
they're being
exactly
tossed
right.
around by the waves and
Yep.
that, like, thinking we might not make it, we might die, but that lighthouse lets them know there is land.
That's it.
There is land close, and that
Safety.
it gives them right. And so they go towards that light and they get to safety, and all is well.
All is well. That lighthouse love. So the ones that are out there that's married, you have a responsibility. And when I tell y'all that there is a blessing in treating each other right,
Man.
That's right.
there is a blessing in treating your wife like a wife
Yes.
and your husband like a husband.
That's right.
And it's unexplainable. It is unexplainable, and you're supposed to.
Yes.
It's supposed to be different than you dating.
Exactly.
That's right.
It's supposed to be different. So there's definitely a blessing in that. Do y'all wanna y'all got any last words for the audience? For the
Very,
listeners?
very last words. We do have a website. We put encouraging things on there, and also just information about our upcoming events and
What's
all
your
that. It
website?
is ourlegacymarriage.com.
The word R?
R-O-U-R, legacymarriage.com.
O-U-R.
O-U-R.
Our. Okay.
R.
Our.
I'm sorry.
Okay. Okay.
That's that country
They from
in me.
St. Louis.
That's that St. Louis twang.
Sorry about that.
Our
legacymarriage.com.
marriage. Okay. OurLegacyMarriage.com.
And I would just like to encourage people out there not to give up so easy. Just, and don't take it so serious. You may have serious issues going on, but, just bring it down a couple of notches. Have some fun with one another. Keep that connection, and you will be able to push through those things. Just get resources, get trusted people, other people who are married that you can talk to, that can pour into you. Listen to different programs. Focus on the family. Family Life with Dennis Rainey on the radio. Read books together. Anything. I'm for doing anything I can to make sure that my marriage stays strong. And so I encourage them to be able to say, we're doing everything we can, and I believe they will survive the storms.
Thank you. Thank y'all so much for coming in. All the
Thank
way
you
from
for
St.
having us.
Louis.
Thanks for having us. We
Yeah,
had
I
a great
enjoyed
time.
y'all. Yeah. Thank you so much. And thank you, listeners, for taking time out of your day that you'll never like your back to listen to us. I pray that you got something out of the conversation with the Braggs. Stay tuned, and we will be back next week. Have a good one. Bye-bye.